Hi, welcome to Dear Mama. My name is Linda Ogweno, and I'm your host. Joining me today is a very brilliant lady. So during the recent protests, we saw women at the front and center of the protests. But what does it take to actually turn this into active participation into politics? So I have with me a guest who understands this because she has actually vied and she understands what it takes. I'll let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Leonida, for having me. And as a guest in your podcast, Dear Mama, you're doing an exemplary job. Keep it up. My name is Linda Ogweno. I'm a resident of Kisumu County, specifically Migosi Ward. I was born within Kisumu County, Migosi. I grew up there, went to Kondele Primary School, went to Sumbi Girls, University of Nairobi. But the big part of my life, I have more or less lived and stayed within Kisumu County and within Migosi Ward. And that's why in the last election, it made a lot of sense for me when I'm seeking a political post to go and seek it in Migosi, because that has been my hood.
Nice, nice. So maybe you can tell us first, like, how did you get into politics? Where did this journey begin?
Interesting. I'd say certainly this journey began at the university. I was at the University of Nairobi, as I mentioned. So in my first year in campus, I don't know whether I was so excited. I just got in, and the first thing I did was to run for an office. I think it was a hall representative.
First year.
So and then the disappointing part is I lost, and I lost with a margin. And I could not imagine that I didn't win. I took the loss so hard. I think I was also pretty young as well.
Yeah.
And it was my first time. So I did not understand why people. And then I looked at my opponent who won. And I couldn't understand why I lost that election. So I handled the loss very hard. So in my second year, I didn't even want anything to do with leadership. So I didn't even dare. Third year, there was a day I was just listening to someone, our morning routines. I remember I was listening to Joyce Meyer. And her sermon was about if you see something within your environment and you don't like it, then you should be the one to initiate the change that you'd like to see. At the end of that sermon, I was motivated and challenged because there were so many things within the student fraternity that I was not comfortable with. So then I sought elections again. And now this time I won with the landslide. Yes, I can win.
That is so cool.
And so that gave me strength. And in the next year now, I went for a bigger position. So by the time I was graduating from campus, I was the SONU treasurer, University of Nairobi treasurer for the entire University of Nairobi students representative for the year 2008, 2009. So that is where it began. Now, once I left campus, I did what most of us women do, which is to, get into family, get married, start having children, pursue your career, and more or less we put our family, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we put our family first, and at times as women and as mothers, we put ourselves second. We concentrate so much on bringing up the children and keeping the family together that we push ourselves to the back. That has its pros, but it also has its cons, especially in politics, because politics is just like a journey and a class. You start class 1, class 3. So if you don't plunge into politics early, by the time you'll be starting it, the process is the same. It's just like pregnancy. There's just month 1, month 2, month 3. You can't skip some classes, not unless, but for you to learn holistically the lessons and the roadmaps in it, there's a journey. So if you start late, then your learning lesson is also delayed. So maybe if I'm just to digress and maybe mention something to somebody who's listening to me, especially a young person, just start early. And a young lady who wants to get into politics, start it early, immediately after campus. Just start it early so that you start learning the lessons and the ropes and start networking early enough. Even if God has blessed you with a family and you want to juggle, advise just juggle between the two, but don't shelve it to start it at a later date. It may have its cons at that particular time. But if you feel that that is the best decision for you then as well, well and good.
Yeah, so in one of your videos, one of your YouTube videos, you mentioned that the fact that you had children also made it a bit difficult for you to actually get into that transition. How old were your kids by then?
I have 3 children. God has blessed me with 3 children. By that time, the oldest was 12. Then I had a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So these last 2, especially the last 2, they were a challenge for me because of their age. At that particular time, I was also a single mother. So largely they were dependent on me as the major parent who was there. And this whole role of, homework, taking care of them, that role largely depended on me. So that I thought of that a lot of times, because politics is engaging, especially as far as your time is concerned. So how was I going to be able to handle that particular aspect? Finances, I was going to use money in this campaign. How was that going to affect us? Would I still be in a position to take care of them? There are those school requirements. At times you're required to go to school, to participate in this and that. Was I going to be able to, to be present for them? I also mentioned that I was single. Actually, I was divorced. So, when you know it in your small circle, you can manage it well. But now if you go to politics, some of the things that probably are in your closet also come out. And by extension, they affect your children. And so if this information was to come out to the larger public, how was that going to affect them by extension, considering they're in school and their friends, their parents are also the people I'm seeking to vote for me? So how is that going to transcend? And I don't know what the parent is going to share with their children, and their children is going to use probably against my child in school. Those are some of the fears that I had. Of course, also my parents, how are they going to take it up? Because I was looking forward and hoping that they would support me and step in on those areas that I could not manage to do. So then even them, how was my support system going to take it? And were they willing to now help me in the places where I fell short? Yeah, just to mention but a few.
Yeah, that's a very real concern. I can imagine how stressful it can be. But you decided to go ahead and actually do it.
Yes.
I'm guessing you had to was your family the people you had to kind of tell first, and how did they react?
Before we go to me now going, let me tell you why exactly I said, now this has to be done.
Yeah.
At that time, I used to work, but I was doubling up as a street trader. So I'd go to work during the day. At 5 in the evening, when I left my 8 to 5, I'd go to the streets to sell bags, karibuni bags, so those hawkers. Yes. So that's what I used to do, just to make extra money. And that is what mothers do, just to take care of your family.
Yeah.
So there was a particular street light where I used to put my wares. There was a street light there. And when that street light was working, I'd sell. Because I've told you the time I used to go between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. So I depended on the street light to be able to illuminate my wares so that people are able to buy. If it's not working, Leonida, I'd barely sell. The days you'd sell nothing. And that used to frustrate me. And that was not my story only, because it was a whole street of traders, majority of them mothers, especially these ones who come with vegetables in the evening. Probably she's taken it on credit. And so I felt it was not my plight only. And I was like, what can be done? We in my case, I was a mother who was just not asking the government to come to my aid, but taking initiative to take care of my own family and sort my own issues. But yet I can't sell because of a street light that the government needs to see into it that it's working for me to be able to sell.
Yeah.
And you could get my frustration. And so I tried to follow it up. I found out the government has not paid Kenya Power. Kisumu County has not paid Kenya Power bill. There was a whole, and I was like, now what has to be done? And now back to the conviction, back to that message, that if I looked at that entire street and I was like, Linda, who in this street can bring out this? And I don't know if it was, I'm not saying nobody else could have, but I felt the conviction that if I don't do it, all these traders will continue suffering. Yet I know I can do. So that was my biggest conviction going into politics. That particular street light, I was that upset about it. So then I told you I grew up in Migosi. So going to Migosi, the story was the same. When streetlights are not working, go to even car wash, the different areas of Migosi. In the evening, that's when most women go out to sell their wares and their goods. So when the streetlight is not working, the same thing happens. When the streetlight is not working, there's a case of, I know, of a girl who was molested when she was going to school. And you know, because she leaves very early, you know, grade 8, those upper grades, they leave very early when they're going to school.
Yeah.
So when she was going to school, that happened to her. But because a street light that was there was not working, so that place became very dark. And we could look at something as light as that and not give it a second thought. But you can see how, if government is not functioning and offering services, how that can come back to affect other people as well. So I'm just giving an example of a street light. So I don't know, I think I've digressed and forgotten even what the question was, but I was just giving you my why at that particular time, what really pushed me and why I decided I have to be there.
Okay, that's so outside of the street lights and just how something small like that can actually really affect the livelihoods of people and even their life in this case. So is there anything else that you went into politics that you wanted to change?
No, once now you get into the political terrain and you start campaigning. Campaigns mean now you're going to visit different houses, different groups, different people within your jurisdiction to just get to sell yourself. But in the process, you also get to hear from them what are the challenges that are affecting them. There are myriad of challenges, and it is very key and important as a country and as a people that we get good leaders. One, we get represented, and the representation should be for everybody, because what you get currently in Kenya, our male counterparts are overrepresented. Women representation is very little. But now, Leonida, if we're going to look at young women under the age of 35, those statistics are wanting. Yet if you look at the population, it is the young women who are more. The issues are being discussed on the table. You had mentioned about the riots, the anti-tax riots that happened around 2 months ago in Kenya. That proposal had proposed to increase the tax. The finance bill, 2024 withdrawn finance bill, had proposed to increase taxes on sanitary towels. Leonida, who are the people who use sanitary towels?
It's definitely the women.
It's definitely women, but younger women. My mother, with all respect, she does not use sanitary towels. It had also proposed to increase taxes on Pampers. We're talking about motherhood. But where was that decision being made? In Parliament. Currently in Parliament, how many young women are there as parliamentarians? Yet this is a decision that affects younger women and younger mothers. My mother is not giving birth, so that decision was not going to affect her. We had Linda Mama. That was the program where women were using to deliver. It was withdrawn by the government. Who is suffering, Leonida? Is it the older women or the younger women? So yes, you classify women together, and yes, still as women, there's a lot to be done. But if you look at younger women, their issues are being discussed, yet they're not on the table. Yes.
So it was very important for you to get that. So you went ahead and told your family about this. You told them that, okay, I'm getting into politics. This is why I'm doing it. What was their reaction?
First time it was a flat out no. No way, no. And for very valid reasons. If I was in their shoes, I would have also probably just said the same. I think now they were my parents, so they're just looking out for their daughter. As I'd mentioned, my finances were not strong. They don't know I was going to the street to making extra income. I was divorced. I had young children. Majorly, I even at that time I didn't have a nanny. So I was taking care of these children alone. And even them as my parents, they felt, they were my support system. They also felt that they were not in a very stable position to finance me for the places that I had a gap. So for example, if it's finances, they felt even their own finances are not strong enough to again back me up. You know, so the opinion, I remember my dad telling me, we know you in politics and we know this thing is so, you know, it has always been there.
Yeah.
But maybe you can support somebody else's campaign team. You can be in somebody else's campaign team for now. As you work on these areas of weaknesses, then probably in the next election, you'd be able to throw yourself in the ring. My mother, typical Mama Kanisa, was just like, you know, prayers, you know, as Christians, there are many things. So it was a flat out no. But I went back and I called myself into a meeting. And I asked myself, if all these people were not there, suppose my kids were not there, my parents were not there, my friends were not there, it's just me, what would I do? What would I do? And that calling myself to a meeting gave me a very resounding way forward. It was, I had to do it. And I said, I am going regardless of all these other things. I am going and I'm plunging. So what I went back and I asked my dad, I told him, my daddy, I remember telling him, Daddy, even if you gave me money, your money would still not guarantee that I will win. Even if you gave me the other support, maybe like networking to your friends and everything, it's still not a guarantee that I will win. The only thing I'm asking you, as my dad, just bless me. That's all. Just bless me. That's all I want. And now, but me, I've decided I'm going for this seat. And now when I went for that, I think he found it a reasonable request.
Yeah.
So they went ahead and blessed me. But the first few days of my campaign, I think they were just looking out to see, is this girl really, really serious?
Yeah.
Leonida, I can tell you, I campaigned. I campaigned. The good thing with Migosi is a small jurisdiction, but I knew I was going against the giants. And as long as God gave me my foot and my mouth, all of them are free of charge.
Yeah.
I don't need money there. I campaigned. It reached a point that now when my parents were walking, the reaction that they were getting from the people now is what made them come and back me up. So they joined now. They joined in. At the tail end, they joined in. They were actually now my biggest supporters. But it was a feedback that they got from the ground that now changed them. And that I'd want to take that moment and encourage somebody who wants to vie, and you're looking at yourself and you don't have this and you don't have this and you don't have this. I'd want to encourage you, go and go. And you have these naysayers, go and let your actions be the ones that will change their opinion. Yeah.
And also for your kids, you mentioned how your parents reacted. How did you manage to explain to your kids that, okay, now you're getting into politics? Like, how do you even find the words to try and tell them?
For my oldest daughter, I told you her age, so her, I think she comprehended a bit. But for the younger ones, Leonida, I failed. I tried, not like I didn't try, but I remember even trying to Google cartoon language to explain that you're vying. I couldn't get it. It's not there. And you see, because they were so young, I didn't get the language. I tried, but I failed. And to date, I still try to keep that conversation. They're like, do you want to be the president? They're just not getting it. And so maybe one of the areas of improvement, and probably for somebody in the communication industry, can come up, because that is a gap. I'm sure if it was a gap for me, it's a gap for many other women out there. How do you explain to your children that you're vying so that they're able to understand that you will no longer be there with them, you know, on a daily basis when they need you? Campaigns require that you have to campaign at night. There are those people who go to work and come in the evening. You can only target them at night. Political meetings, siasa hii Kenya, I may digress into Kiswahili. Siasa hii Kenya ni usiku. Those big and important meetings are done at night. And you have to be there. If you're not there, chako haliko. So you have to be there. And so that means you are not there for your children at night. Probably children who need you. You know the way when our children get sick at night, hey, they have home, they come and just, you know.
So you've mentioned that those are some of the challenges now you actually faced on the ground. Of course, you had the fears that you had when you were getting into it.
Yes.
You know, but now on the ground here you are, you're actually campaigning. You're actually going for all these night meetings. You have to leave your kids for like a big chunk of time. So what other challenges did you actually face that you maybe didn't even expect?
Yes, I had more challenges than that. And as I say these were my challenges that I faced. I'm sure different mothers out there have faced different challenges, and if you get a chance, you'd also be able to hear from them their challenges. One was security. You know, politics is highly insecure. You know, and so I remember being attacked physically. We are in a country where people believe in tokenism, especially in Luo Nyanza. Tokenism, Yuko Jamana is shaking the Jamana tree. I don't know how to say that in English. It's tokenism, right?
Yeah.
So when you don't do that, then they don't perceive you to be a very serious candidate, and that can affect your candidature. So then I got attacked, and you see that affected me as a person. And they say, happy mother, happy baby. So if I was not okay, my children were by extension, it affects them.
Let me ask, you were attacked like physically during the campaign, in your house? How?
I had gone to campaign at a certain area, and these are people who are known to me. It's not like they're strangers.
You've grown up in...
Yes,
So
yes, and I'm in Kawash. So these are people who are known to me. But after finishing campaigning, I didn't give them tokens. So they felt that I owed them. So what they did is they got in my car and took anything and everything that they could take, plus the people who are helping me campaign, they took anything and everything that they could take. And those are some of the challenges that women, I think everybody, it's an unsafe environment, but it exposes women. We don't like a lot of violence. I don't think it's even in our innate nature. So those are things that probably make women get scared to go through that. And so that's what inspired. So even when I went to report, you know, it was funny because these are people who are known to me. So, you know, it also gets another political angle, and they're the same voters, and
you still want them to support you.
And so you see how you can put in a very funny scenario.
Yeah.
The other challenge that I faced, now this is majorly after elections. You know, people still ask you for money, even if, I did get the Migosi MCA. I'm not the current Migosi MCA, but we'll talk about the good things that have come from the journey so that we don't look at the negative only. But even after election, people call you Mhesh, you know. Like, I was surprised you didn't call me Mhesh. You know, people call me Mhesh. So, even to date, even now when I live here, I'll go Mhesh, hatujakunywa chai, hatujakula lunch. So there's a day I was with my kids in the car, and then they had people calling me Mhesh and asking me for money. So after that, they asked me, Mommy, when you have a lot of money, why are they asking you for money? And as you tell us you don't have money, you know. So that puts me in an awkward situation.
Yeah.
And but I managed to explain to them. The other thing that also happened to me, you have people coming to your house. They want tea, they want lunch, they want, I don't know what. They have all these issues that they have, but they come to your house. And one of the things I decided to do was not to allow people come to my house, because as I told you, I was looking at my children, they were young, and they had me as the parent who was there most of the times. So I was wondering, if this is their small house, again, I allow people, where is their space? Where will they feel safe? So I refused to meet anybody in my house or within the compound. I would only, if any political meeting, we had to meet at an office. I had an office set up. I had places where you could reach me, and avenues you could reach me. Those are the only places. If you came to my house, I refused to meet you. And I think that is one of the things that helped to protect them from this other society and this other world that was out there. In finances, I think I'd mentioned I didn't do very well. Yes, because I spent a lot of my money, and then I didn't get the position. I didn't get to a job. The job I had before, I lost it because I left it going into politics. So after that, I found myself, I don't have money, yet I have children that I need to take care of. And I'm sure in one way or the other, that affected them.
So you also mentioned that even with the violence and it took a toll on you. Of course, it's taking a lot of time. You're facing all these challenges. You're a mom to 3 kids, a single mom at that. You know, you have to balance all this. There's your mental health, there's also your family, your kids, you know. So how did you manage to find a balance, if at all, or what helped you to at least stay grounded? Because here you are today.
One of the things I didn't mention is I also didn't have time to do the things that I would do on a normal day to help me with my mental health. I used to go to the gym because of politics. I had no time to go to the gym. I spend a lot of time reading the Bible and watching spiritual videos, which help boost my mental health space. I had no time for that, or it was very limited. So that also affected me, because even if you're in this environment, yet you can do this to help you, but yet you have no time to do that. Even eating, you barely have time to even eat. You know, so if you've not eaten, and politics, you start talking, and you know, it's about talking.
Yeah.
Without talking for I don't know what time. Till at times it teaches unahang. People are there, but they're not there. But you see, that's affecting you, and by extension, it's also affecting your children. It's affecting you. I lost a lot of weight, and so you're asking me what are some of the things that helped me cope during that time. One, I mentioned my parents came on board, so that they took over the parenting from my hands. They used to go represent me in school and those other functions that was needed, and I'm totally grateful to them. We also had I had, there are times when co-parenting meant that I didn't have the children, especially during the holidays. That helped because they were not in my hands. I had friends support, you know, pesa ni mzuri, pesa ni sabun. So it was able to either facilitate them to be in spaces where they're not. I also became very intentional. At some point, I became very intentional with my mental health, and like nilieka time to just listen in to the word and just continue building myself. The hardest point for me actually was losing elections. Because, you know, during election, this campaigning is keeping you busy. You're busy somehow. But now after elections, you have time and you have lost, and there's all these other things. It was a very hard time for me. And I have to admit that a few months after election, it was a pretty ugly time. I also mentioned about the finances. So it was a pretty ugly time. It was my first time vying in the national politics. So I had not, you know, grasp that very well. But fast forward, getting back to doing something that is income generating helped. Keeping my mental health and going back to those things that I used to do that kept me fit was very, very important.
Nice. So just what you went through and knowing what you know now, what do you think that could be done differently just to encourage young moms and women who want to go into politics, so that, sure, they'll experience some hardships, but at least the burden can be lifted a bit?
Okay. As I mentioned, there are different categories of mothers who have different children, different ages. So the solutions may be different. And again, these solutions are not cast on stone. One of the things I'd say is plan your finances very well. If you're going into politics, plan your finances, and please set aside money for after campaign. You may get the seat, you may not get it. You need that money to keep your family going and keep yourself going. During campaigns, schedule your you time. You know, what is it you're going to do to keep yourself sane? You have to factor in that. Have a community that can help you, if it's your parents, if it's your friends, if it's a nanny or a spouse, for those who are married, who is able to take care of the children and lift that burden from your hands. Start planning that, start planning that early, so that can also get to help. In your campaign team, I would advise have a lawyer. And if you can't afford a lawyer, at least have a friend who can be giving you legal counsel. Because I didn't go through this, but I know of a friend whose daughter, her daughter was part of her campaign team, and she ended up being raped. And yeah, that was her daughter. And for her, she was very devastated that she had to she felt like she made her daughter go through that. And there are many other things that are not very nice about politics. So have a lawyer or somebody who can advise you about the legal process, so that should you need those services, you're able to use them, or you're able to even sue and just, you know, sue people and just have justice done for your case, and avoid being in scenarios. Reinforce your security. I didn't talk about social media and cyberbullying. That is very, very big, especially for mothers. If I'm bullied socially, my child is likely to see. If I have a child who's on the social media space, like now my teenage daughter, she's on the social media space. So if she sees me being bullied, that will definitely affect her. Now, our children, unfortunately, we're proud of them, but in politics, they're also your weakness, because your opponent is likely to target that area and target them. If you have a child probably who's, let's say, for example, they're struggling with drug abuse, your opponent is likely to twist that in a negative way against you. And they're also your weakest point, because, you know, they can get information from them. So try and protect them from the social media, reinforce security around your house, reinforce security around your children, so that you remove them from that. There are other players who can help. They may not necessarily be a mother, but they're players, sector players who can help. For example, there's very little data about effects of motherhood of politics on mothers. Actually, what you're doing is very, very commendable, because there's a big gap out there. I'd want to recommend and ask the people who are in the research department to do more research on that, so that we have segregated data and you also have information that we can use to build ourselves and, you know, just make this conversation continue so that we make it better. We have the government. The government can enact policies that can assist. An organization like ORPP, which is Registrar of Political Parties, through them, they can create like either nanny centers where I'm able to leave my child, or if not, I can be incentivized. If I'm a mother who's vying and I have probably a young child, I can be given a token as just, it's an incentive to encourage more mothers to vie. Or maybe they can agree with a particular daycare. I take my child there, then they get to pay, because we pay money to political parties. Political parties also needed to look at our mental health as the candidates who are representing them, because mental health, that's another story as in politics. Social media and the people in the media fraternity can help, you know, just make these conversations be louder, like what you're doing. Very good job you're doing, and I really, really applaud you. And I want to encourage you to continue doing it.
Asante. So you're also actually doing something really incredible.
Yes.
I find that so unique, and it's actually a niche, because there's not many people who are doing it. You have a platform that enables women to come, and through your platform, they're able to get information about how to get into politics, what's required of them, what to expect, and like a lot more stuff. So maybe just tell us a bit about that as we wind up.
Thank you. Through my experience, I didn't have training on politics, and I didn't even know where to start. And the same applies to you, Leonida. Maybe tomorrow you want to go into politics, you don't even know where to start. So then, to address that gap, and of course the gap of also having few women and few young women in politics, I have a YouTube channel, and we're going also into the podcast space, where I train women about politics and political processes in Kenya, to encourage more women to get into politics and to win elections. I had already told you how important it is that women are represented. And for me, it is to give the information so that even if you don't get an opportunity to be trained, you can train yourself, because that is completely not there. And you can train yourself, and you're able to know if it's IEBC, if it's ORPP, what are the rules, what are the games, what are the do's, what are the don'ts. Yes.
Did you have a mentor yourself going into this?
I didn't have a mentor. However, there are several women that I look up to. I like reading about history, and there are women in this country who have been brave enough. They had nobody to stand by them, but they were brave enough, and they brought in a lot of changes. And we're enjoying the fruits of their labor. And when I read about their stories and see if they did not have somebody, like there's a lady during Mau Mau, I'm forgetting her name, but I'll remember it. When they went to the prison, central police station in Nairobi, to remove Harithuku. Harithuku had just been arrested. The men chickened out. No offense to our men folks, the other gender chickened out. And she was the only one who was bold enough to charge forward. She was the first to be killed, but that was the beginning, and played a very big part in the Mau Mau revolution that has led to us being and enjoying the independence that you're doing right now. And that was just one woman. If she could do that by herself, what can us, who are very many, be able to do?
That's so true. So what has been, maybe throughout this journey, you faced a lot of challenges, sure, but what has been the most rewarding aspect, and how has it just played into your motherhood journey?
Thank you. I had mentioned at some point, when you don't get elected, we tend to see the negative.
Yeah.
I'm not the MCA, but I can tell you the best thing I ever did with my life, my entire life, was to actually vie for a political seat. You know, I got to meet so many people and network and travel, and that exposure, I am able to deal with pressure. You know, I'm actually a very good candidate for an interview. I don't know. You know, I can handle pressure. I can speak to different ages of people, just because those are some of the benefits and skills that you get. They may not be monetary, but they come with you vying, and you become a better person. And even as far as handling my children is concerned, I think I understand them better, because I am able to leave myself and go to their level to understand, because politics is about representing people. So you have to be able to understand the challenges that your people are facing. So you have to leave yourself and go to their level and understand their challenges in their level. So I think that has also helped me be able to do that. Again, I have, in preparation for the next elections, I'm just putting in some checks and balances to see to it that in the next election, my children are sorted. One of the things that probably I've not told many people, I think even my friends, some of my friends don't know, is I'll be going to the US next month to represent my country as a young political leader, and just to be part and parcel of the US elections. So there's so many things that have come with being a politician, and that opportunity, I'm certain and I pray that it opens many other doors and opportunities. So for somebody who may want to go into politics, or there's people who did not win that election, there are many other things that you get to gain through just the political process. But above all else is the fact that you are still, whether you are the end, like me in my case, MCA, or not, you still have an opportunity to serve your people. I may not be the MCA, but if you look at my social media pages, you'll see I still help to the capacity that I'm able to help. So that leadership skill is still there, regardless of whether you get the seat or not. If you truly have a passion to serve your people, you will be able to serve the people, whether in that position or not.
Have you decided what seat you'll be vying for in the coming election?
Yes, I have, but I want to leave that as a, as a reason for you to call me back, so that you're able to have this conversation more and more. But at the right time, I'll be letting you know. But one of the things I'd want to take a moment and just say is to encourage people, especially young women, to get into politics. And in the next election, I'd want to ask more young women to get into politics and to vie. If you'll not be vying, support a candidate. Kenya has a lack of good leaders, so support somebody else whom you can see they have the trait that yourself you don't have. And also take a voter's card. Chukua kura, upige kura, so that you're able to be the change that you want to see. Let's not be people. For the younger generation, most of us are on the online space. We bicker, we talk. Yes, that's okay. But let's also take action in our own hands to change this country and to make it the country that it wants to be.
That is very important. Actionable change.
Yes.
I like that. Thank you so much for joining me on this.
Leonida, before you close, I wanted to say that all these things that I'm recommending and asking people to look into if they want to vie, to the young women who are out there and who want to join politics, there's no particular time that everything is going to be perfect. There's no time that all the cards are going to deck and it's going to be perfect for you to join elections. So you will have challenges inevitably. Of course, look into them so that they're not massive and great, but part of being a politician calls for you to be able to work under pressure. For example, even if you're elected as a member of parliament, you may not even enjoy your maternity leave because you have to go to parliament and vote for bills. So that is part and parcel of it. What I'd want to encourage you is to take up these challenges and strengthen yourself and go for the race. Let us change this country. This is our country. We are here by birth. We deserve to be here. These challenges of being motherhood, let us just juggle them. You're a mother, you're a politician. You're a mother, you're a politician. And let's see to it that the Kenya we hand over to our children. Because me, every time I want to give up, I think of my children, Leonida. and I think of someday I'll be either too old to do anything or I'll die. Which country am I leaving for my children? That always gets me up, and I get to do that which I must do for that day and for my country. So let's do this for our country. And Leonida, you guys at Frameless Studio, you're doing a good job. And I want to encourage everybody to please watch this podcast, share it, and share it until the good job that is being done here gets recognized. But even if you're not recognized, I want to let you know that you're doing a very good job. And keep at it.
That is so encouraging. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I feel like as a mimi, I can vie for a seat now. Linda, it was awesome having you. I've learned so much, and I'm sure this will be a source of encouragement to so many women. You're also doing something incredible. Keep at it. Keep encouraging us. Just be there. Next election, we'll definitely be there to support you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you haven't even told us where we can get your YouTube.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Linda Ogweno. So if you go to YouTube, just look for Linda Ogweno Political Show. In the podcast space, we'll still also call it the same name, Linda Ogweno Political Show. And yes, you come so that together, you and I, we get to change the narrative of politics about women and mothers in our country. We are the leaders of today, not tomorrow. Our tomorrow is today. We get to change it today. Thank you.
Nice. And ours is Orals East Africa on YouTube. So please subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and share. So until next time, it was an incredible conversation. So bye.